I share with you the very definite hope that we'll all get to know each other very well come Friday at 5:15. And I begin by extending also my considerable thanks to all of the people of the staff here at Madison for what they've done to bring us to this point, and for what Miles has done to be chairman of this thing in the way that it has to be done. All of these things, as you know, need people doing that kind of work behind it, and between Nick and Miles and between Midge Clutch and everybody else, it all gets done. On my side of it, I've had the quiet privilege thus far of being able to sort of think about this thing. I have spent a lot of time trying to decide how best to do anything of this sort for a long period of time. I couldn't really bring myself to teaching the subject for a great many years. But I come to it now with every possible enthusiasm, because I sense the need for us to come together to kind of, we have to play catch up. We're a little bit far behind. We didn't plan it that way. Nobody wanted it to be that way. But for whatever the reason, most of us who conduct in the wind field have not had the privilege of the many years of background in development that has brought choral conducting and orchestral conducting and operatic conducting to its very high stages of development, technically, in preparation, technically in material. We have suffered a little much, I think, because we have not been able to pursue a line of continuity such as has been the way of the opera house ever since, and is likewise the way of the ballet pit. We have not had that cause to exist in the heart of the composer that has been the great blessing of the symphony orchestra all of these years. And it has been recently that we have come onto the scene. We have recently discovered that the work we do is really rather important. The preparation that we've all had to pursue this work has been lacking in that kind of continuity, that grasp that time intelligently passed, that kind of preciseness, that kind of directness, that kind of thrust that comes from passing a great tradition of a certain great literature from one decade to the next decade, the greeting with enthusiasm, the new things of the current moment, preparing them and passing them to the next conductors who follow. That unfortunately has not been our lot. We have been on the fringes of entertainment, on the fringes of music that's on the fringes, and have been denied, therefore, that tremendous thrust that goes with this kind of continuity, with that kind of consideration. If you think we have not been denied that sort of partnership in the ways of the world and its music. If you feel that we have been in there, I think you rather should consider very seriously the fact that some few summers ago there was gathered together on the grounds of that beautiful institution, Tanglewood, in the Berkshire Hills, a rather historic meeting of everybody and anybody from every field of music to gather to discuss where are we with music in the school, where are we with education in music, where are we with music and the composer, where are we with the audience and the composer. Everybody was represented at that great conference except the wind band. There was not one person there. Not one person was invited to be present. Every other field was covered in depth. Not ours. I've asked that embarrassing question of several rather heavily embarrassed people since that occasion. Just ask the question. I haven't had any answers yet. And I'm really not liable to get them. But I really think I know what they are anyhow. But that was to me a rather shocking revelation. So we're going to have to just do it for ourselves. Most of us, when we graduate from an institution, however venerable and how deeply honored, graduate with absolutely the least experience in the most trying field. Many of us graduate with the full storehouse of a variety of fingerings for E-flat. We have been to innumerable sessions about how much lip you do or don't roll under. We come out armed with lists and syllabuses that high from the floor of how you do this and how you do that and when you do it and from whom to order it and in what sizes, shades, and colors. We come out armed with all kinds of information about how to raise money and how to spend it, but we don't come out with very much information about how you conduct, which is what the business is all about in the first place. We suffer this rather sad condition mostly because we are denied an opportunity to work with a group. We are obliged to walk a strange path. It may not be a very pleasant connotation or a pleasant thought. Does not make one jump with a lot of enthusiasm and joy to contemplate. But medicine, which is such a great science and such a great art, surgery, which is such a magnificent pursuit of man, one of his great achievements, these sciences and these arts of medicine would cease to exist without a cadaver. You can read all the books on anatomy, and you can see all the films of all of the great surgeons performing open heart removal of this, repairing of that. You can see all of these things in Technicolor 45D Kodachrome And it doesn't mean a thing until you have put the scalpel in your own hand and made the incision. Medicine knows this. Medicine survives by it. You survive by it. I survive by it. And those who come lightly to their subjects of anatomy and other intellectual concentrations and disciplines leading up to becoming a surgeon are denied being a surgeon if they do not fulfill the minimum of those requirements. There is a standard there. Somebody gets hurt if you don't know your job. And since we all know how crucial that is, and since medicine knows how crucial this is, great and careful steps are taken to make sure that when a man leaves the College of Medicine, he leaves it with the knowledge he has to have if he is to be a surgeon. Now, we're going to have to somehow provide this musical cadaver better than we do it in school. We may even be not too many decades from the time when the conductor of the band at the University of Wisconsin will not be a distinguished professor like Robert Reynolds, but rather there will be 3 or 4 of them, and they will be the PhD candidates in music in this institution. And they will learn their craft conducting this band. Much though the surgeon down the street learns his as an intern in that hospital. We may be not too far from that, or some application of such a philosophy as that. Mr. Reynolds will still have his work to do, believe me, but it will not necessarily be the work that he originally came here to do, or which was the backbone of university and college band business some years back. But since we are playing catch-up conducting, we're going to have to scratch, and we're going to have to scratch fast and deep. And we're going to have to face some square facts very face-off. We're going to have to believe without question that much of the time we are working in the dark in comparison to the light that should be blazing there. We must honestly face the fact that many of us are gloriously under-techniqued. And I'm afraid too many of us are happy about it. What can you do without technique? How could any of us have learned to play our instruments without conquering technique, without acquiring technique? We make this the minimum for any audition to our institution, let alone to the group after they are admitted to the school. Technique, 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 technique. How fast, how slow, how high, how low. Everybody's on it with technique. We haven't really stopped to look to see how much we do or don't have. And that's the name of the game. And so I would just say we're going to have to work very hard. Those men who are conducting now, those men who have a position no matter where, no matter how exalted or how far down on the scale of his beginning to be what he wants to be, his first job, in whatever school, conducting whatever kind of ensemble. we have to really take a good, hard look in the mirror. The mirror of music, the mirror of technique. I would want to make sure that in this preamble to what we're going to do here, what we're all going to try to do, that no matter what is said, no matter what is done, no matter what transpires between us, this must be the overall and abiding fact. All of conducting is judged in proportion to one's knowledge of the score. Conducting is not a separate, disengaged pursuit. It grows out of instrumental, out of vocal performance. Some words to live by: knowledge of the score, the technique to transmit it. And it should be an extension of our accumulated knowledge. It's really not a process of acquisition. It's a process of elimination. It's a process of getting rid of what we don't need. Getting rid of the excess in thought, the excess in motion, or the improperly prepared motion. What is not necessary or what does not improve, we do not acquire. Like Senator Ed Muskie said after the first time he didn't quite make it in the big ring, somebody from television stuck a microphone in front of his face and said, "Well, Senator Muskie, have you any words to say about the election?" He said, "Well, back in Maine, we have a very simple saying. We don't say nothing that don't improve on silence." We really have to work very, very hard to be rid, really once and for all, of the idiotic business of beating time. I'm frankly admitting I'm up to here with time beaters. And all of us going into this subject, we went into it with more knowledge about it than we thought. Because again, I'm afraid we think too much of the time that conducting is a disengaged pursuit. It is nothing of the kind. It's an extension of our total accumulated knowledge. It's all the things we've seen, all the places we've been, all the music we've heard, all the lessons we've had, all the hours we've practiced, the billions of times we've taken the horn out of the case and put it together and put it to the chops. Billions of times. It's all of that. And that to me is still one of the most fascinating things about a rehearsal, is to get there early. Watch the kids unpack. I started that at Rochester, not because I had to get there before they did. I had to do that too. But I had to get there early just to watch the habits. The people that came and sat in the front row. They all have a different way they unpack the instrument. You know that. They have a different thing they do the first time they put it to the chops. And that all goes into being a conductor. We have, I think, passed over the physical aspect of conducting for a variety of reasons. We are really not so far away from a time supposedly called Puritan. We still suffer the dogma of Puritanism in a great many ways in our country. In spite of all the swinging that's supposed to be going on, you wouldn't see it or think it when you see most of us conduct. We suffer the straight-backed passport to music making. Because that's honest. That's good. And everything else is not. Or it's just a little bit. Just a little. That's Lenny Bernstein. He's just a little. Or Stokowski. What's so bad about, at 94, conducting some of the greatest concerts I ever heard conducted by any man, young, old, or otherwise? It's something to sit up in the gallery where Lynn and I sat all last fall, in a jam-packed festival hall, to wait for the first sign of the white hair coming through the door. Boy, the place goes crazy. 94, 95 years old. Still thinking, still listening, still trying, refusing to be a... In our field, we are frequently reminded, as I was when I first began to conduct, that I should conduct like Sousa. I was told this. You didn't know you don't need to do much, young man. All you got to do is just stand up there and go like this. That's all you got to do. That's all Sousa did. That's all you got to do. Just that. Well, you know, I saw a lot of other good men who didn't just do this, but they said, now you must, that's why he does it, and that's all there is to it. That's it. That's all you need. And it was some years later before I discovered why Mr. Sousa went like this. It was because Mr. Sousa was a devoted rider, horseman. He had a beautiful black Arabian mount who threw him one bright, shiny morning, and all of John Philip Sousa came down on his right shoulder. And he never could lift his arm up again any higher than that, if he tried. So that's the technique. That's the way to do it, boy. Well, I'm sure you all know my genuine admiration for the marches that Mr. Sousa wrote. My love for them. And they don't go like that. And so we've had a lot of things that have gotten to us and said, no, or don't, or you mustn't do this. A lot of people are very anxious to tell us what we shouldn't be doing, or how we should be doing what we're doing, which has led us down a definite primrose path. We have suffered in that regard considerably, because we have not had a world of great examples. Men who have been lauded in song and story all over the great continents and concert stages of the world, as is the case of the field of opera and the symphony orchestra. We have not had all of that going for us. That does not mean that we are shorn of people whose sense of responsibility matches their devotion to the art. But we do have to take it upon ourselves to change the whole concept of conducting at the band as an institution. It's a difficult thing to come to one of these things because every now and then we discover we have bad habits. And sometimes these bad habits, these physical bad habits, are so bad that they're so deeply ingrained that it's very difficult to change them, except by a complete surrender of that past to something that is fresh, something that is perhaps better, certainly something that is different. It's like changing the embouchure. And you know how hard that is. You know what pain it is. Most of you, have one way or another gone through it, I'm sure, at one time or another. Maybe you didn't need to. Maybe you were lucky. Maybe you grew up like some of those incredible guys I grew up with, like Sid Meir. He doesn't ever remember when he didn't just put it up there and blow. And Bud Hershus and all the rest, Marcella, they just put the horn up and blew. Somebody was sitting there making sure, I guess, that they were doing it right. But when you do need to make an adjustment of some sort, this is a painful thing, I know. But none of this is beyond our realm, beyond our opportunity to achieve. In asking you to come here, I look on our workshop clinic in the Mayo sense, in that you don't have to be sick to be here. You're just interested in the current state of your health. And you can get such an appointment at the Mayo Clinic anytime. A lot of people have to have appointments at the Mayo Clinic. I'm sure you don't have to have them here. But if you wanted the appointment to just sort of get checked out, I'm delighted that you come with that spirit, because that's the spirit in which I am here. I would like you to try to join me in a desire to pursue technique for the very only reason that it is our ends to the music. This is the way we get to the music, and this is the way we get out of the way of the music, which is more frequently our problem than getting into it. I ask you to join me in a pursuit of technique. Knowledge of the score, the technique to transmit it. And it's all there on the page. Everything is on the page. Everything we really need to know is baked into the instruments. What are the instruments doing here? What's the music doing at this point when we have our so-called conducting problem? The answer is in the score. The answer is in the music. The answer is in the technical passage that is being played. The answer is in the glorious or the exciting or the nasty sound of the music. In many ways, our body has to be compared to an instrument. It has to have become your instrument by now. You might still gig 6 nights a week. Your body as a conductor is still your instrument. And it must be thought of in just exactly that same way. The same kind of care has to be taken of it. The same kind of concern has to be taken of it.
You wouldn't put a beautiful brand new Heckle bassoon in a flight bag. There's a certain kind of case that works a little bit better for the Heckle bassoon than a flight bag. There's a certain way to control your body when you are working that is a little bit better than tearing it apart. We all know, and maybe many of you also have, and I don't happen to have one, but for groups, but groups have tremendously, incredibly involved warm-up routines. Fantastic. Here's some of these school bands with these warm-up routines that out of sight. They go through every kind of thing you can think of. That leaves about 10 minutes for playing music, but they've got this routine, and they go through it, except the conductor doesn't go through it. He stands there and scowls, plays policeman. He's not joining them in the music making. He's not conducting staccato notes. He's not conducting legato notes. He's not conducting slow legato things as they play their big full tones from one B flat to the next C to the next D. No, he's playing policeman. We don't come to rehearsals ourselves unless you're blessed with a good enough situation that you can stay in shape, as much as I am much blessed, I must say. But I've worked myself into it. If there is anything of this matter, we must come to rehearsals ourselves warmed up. How many of us are ready physically to conduct a 1 hour and a half rehearsal under great mental tension with music that's increasingly demanding of every mental and every physical skill imaginable? How many of us are really warmed up? I mean, like Vida Blue has to be, just to pick a name out of the air, or whoever is the current hot pitcher. You don't pitch 1 inning of baseball, let alone 9, without thoroughgoing physical preparation, much warmer. Nobody runs the 3-minute mile the first time it occurs to them. I'm afraid a lot of us get up on that podium. The comparisons are rather similar. It's a physical business. And it's a tough physical business. And it's getting tougher. You have to be in shape, mentally and physically. We, after all, are where we are on that dangerous 10-inch rise above the floor. More good guys I know went wrong between the floor and the top of that podium than any other dimension in the history of the world. This is the worst one. That's where guys forget everything they ever learned. Forget anybody they ever knew. And start all over again. Well, I'm a conductor. And that's, of course, the first mistake. We are on this position. We are on this dais. We are on this podium as a leader of musicians. We were put there by the composer. The long time ago, when music was not of a complicated nature in this way rhythmically, when the machinery of an ensemble was not the complicated bag of tricks that it is today, it could get along with somebody raising one shoulder up, and maybe they played raggedly together, I don't know. Maybe they played fantastically together, I don't know. Well, when you think of a great man like Beethoven conducting concerts to raise enough money to stay alive write some more good music, and not being able to hear what he was doing, and someone's pulling on a coat this way, and some guy's leading this way, and a real smart character that played the first performance of the Beethoven violin concerto was afraid he was going to lose his audience, so between the first and the second movement, he played about 5 little ditties of his own. A remote time, perhaps, from today. But at that time, there wasn't a need for what we call a conductor. But today, the composer, whether he likes us or not, has once again put us in his field. Again now, we've tried for the last 150 years to get out of the composing thing. But Mr. Penderecki and all the rest of them have put us right back in it. We have to say how long, how many, when. We're now shaping and judging things that we've tried to live by. When I was a boy and first beginning to be a conductor, man, I had it beat into my head every day. Toscanini says, it must be what is in the score. That and nothing more. Well, I didn't even believe that then, because I had good enough ears and good enough eyes to see that he was doing a heck of a lot more than what was, as Kuzovitsky said, the black dots. But we're at that point now where we're desperately needed. The kids really need us. I mean, there's a real need for a man standing on a podium who wants to make music. I mean, never in the history of the world has there been a greater need in the world of music than there is now for all of us to really become musical leaders. I mean, really. Not beaters of time, but real musical leaders. To push our imagination to the absolute limits. I'm reminded of I go back to Mr. Stokowski again. I'm reminded of a remarkable occasion in Rochester. Every now and then when somebody like Stokowski came through town, I would ask him if he would just come and talk to the students. Dr. Hansen would ask him, someone would ask him. And he came one afternoon, and we had one of those marvelous noontime sessions in the student lounge where he was just marvelous to hear him talk about anything. And at the course of the afternoon, as the questions were just about running out, it was about time to go to rehearsal, some girl said, Mr. Stokowski, I want to be a composer. I said, I think I can be a composer, but I don't really have all of the technique to write the things I would like to write right now, but I'm writing them nonetheless. And he interrupted her, jumped up on his feet, and he said, dream your dreams. Don't worry about the technique. Dream your dreams. Write your music. Dream your dreams. We have to start dreaming our dreams. There's a lot of fantastically exciting music out there waiting for us. Some of it that we've been playing that's still waiting for us. There never was a time like now in the history of making music. As I read it, and as I hear it and see it, for anybody who has a podium to really find himself in a whole brand new fantastic world. By just looking at it maybe a little differently. And I know that in the next few days there will be a lot of things transpire that you may wonder about, but I'll be glad to talk with you into the wee hours of the morning about them any time. Because I really honestly feel that we can make a good contribution to each other. A little bit at a time, 18, give me 16 men at a time. That's a lot. But 16, if we can come anywhere to just one more fascinating look at ourselves and what we're doing, and for all of us to try to do it just a little bit more meaningfully, dream the dream a little more widely and wisely and deeply. That's really the only reason we do what we do anyhow. So 9:30 tomorrow morning is going to come rather soon. And I welcome you to this conductorial outward bound. I think it can be one of the most exciting times in my life, and I look forward to it very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Following will be the Monday evening session, July 8th.
To make in a book, if you're making jottings, is that everything that we're doing here is designed to be anti-tension. But now the two words are rather similar, but they must not ever be misconstrued, the one for the other. Because actually, this question of intensity is, when you get right down to it, only the simple sustaining at the level that is really necessary for the production of tone of a whole mental, physical, and metaphysical process that allows us to consistently make music. Anybody can make one good sound on an instrument. Somebody can play one high beat stiff on a horn higher than anybody ever played one. But the problem is to go back and do it again and again and again and again and again, any time that it is necessary to do it. And this, we all know, is called technique. To be able to repeat. The amateur is one who does it when he feels like it, and if all the situation is right. And the professional is one who strives to do it constantly. And since we are all professionals, that has to be the goal. But that we go from the point of view of a pro-intensity, anti-tension concept means that we do, I think, have to have some place from which to begin. Watching each of you come to the podium to conduct, we see, naturally, 16 different approaches to conducting, and this is what we must see. No two men can work alike. No two men should work alike. What all of us should try to achieve, however, is something of the consistency that comes from a basic personal discipline. And since, therefore, we have to start from this, I think we should all have for ourselves that basic position one of which I spoke down at the pool. Whatever that is, and I think that position one should relate to a kind of basic body neutrality that is then modified by the piece at hand, or whatever that might be. The piece that begins very quietly with one instrument, very piano, the piece that begins with everybody fortissimo,
cannot possibly be begun in the same fashion or from the same stance, but the stem of the body can indeed basically be the same.